In South Florida, the war against crime has raged on for decades. From the comical to the downright criminal, this is South Florida Crime to Crime.
In a picturesque community, behind the picket fence and beyond the manicured lawn, often lies a more sinister story. It is here where suburban secret agents have infiltrated the Sunshine State.
South Florida is the perfect place for a spy to operate out of. The interesting thing about South Florida is that because we're such a multicultural place, it's extremely easy for a spy who's tasked to come here to just be there and be invisible. They always say in the newspaper, "Oh my God, I had no idea who that guy was living next door to me." And that's always been true of spies.
It's not just about finding the ideal place to operate from. It's also about learning the art of blending in.
The reason they get caught is because somehow their activity is communicated back to their masters, and the interception of those communications is what leads the authorities to them.
This clandestine behavior of modern-day spies in South Florida can be traced back to at least the 1940s.
We had Nazis here in South Florida during World War II, and their job was to communicate with the U-boats, the submarines, off the shore using the Enigma code machine to tell them about the movement of shipping during the war. For a long period of time, the Nazis were successful at sinking ships right after the war started. They sunk over 100 ships off the coast of Florida. And so the Nazis were operating out of a house in Little Havana. It had an escape hatch. It had mirrors throughout the house so that wherever you were standing, you could see if someone came in, so you could run down to the basement and get out. And they were arrested, the people that were there, during that roundup right after the beginning of the war.
One of the largest espionage cases in South Florida was being orchestrated through Cuba.
The WASP network was just the most recent network of Cubans that have been arrested here in South Florida. Castro made it his mission to find ways to infiltrate the United States. And there are people that believe we've had as many as 5,000 Cuban spies working in South Florida at one time, because the objective was get people to tell them about who was disaffected with the United States so that they can then turn them into spies also.
One high-ranking official for the Defense Intelligence Agency worked as a spy undetected for 16 years before being arrested on September 21st, 2001.
Ana Montes, longtime Defense Intelligence Agency analyst, accused of spying for Castro's Cuba. From the federal indictment, an intercepted message to Montes' Cuban spy handlers. Just today, the agency made me enter into a program. Special access, top secret.
Ana Belén Montes was a very good example of someone who spied for ideological reasons. She didn't take a penny for anything that she did. She was actually an employee of the United States Department of State, and she worked in the Cuban Affairs Division. So she was always reporting back to Castro about what the State Department was doing vis-a-vis Cuba.
Currently, Ana Montes is serving a 25-year sentence. She's incarcerated at the federal prison in Fort Worth, Texas. She's due to be released July 1st, 2023. For more information about South Florida Crime to Crime, go to WLRN.org.